The Radio Wammo Breakfast here on the Kiwi.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
The Geek Show.
Yes, it's the Geek Show back once more. Calvin joining us from the Mohawk Studios, Wellington City. Hello to you, Calvin.
Hello there, Wammo.
Hello, and disturbing news out this week about the drone fighters, the pilotless aircraft that go over war zones, the American aircraft, may have been infected by a virus.
Well, have been infected by a virus. They're reporting basically that the Predator and Reaper drones have been infected with malware, and they can't get rid of it. They've tried, they've been cleaning off hard drives, and it just keeps coming back. And while it hasn't, it's not like people are taking over the drones, doing anything with them. They know this malware is logging all of their keystrokes and logging all of the data, and they don't know where it's come from, and they don't know actually what it'll do. It's a big unknown, and of course, no elite geeks will work for the military, so they haven't really got the tech to the sort of depth of technical knowledge to do anything about this.
Now, so you would imagine their systems are off the commercial internet, the worldwide internet. It should be separate, right?
Well, you would imagine so, wouldn't you? But when you have a look at their cockpits, they call them cockpits, rooms in Nevada, it all looks like fairly standard gear and routers and stuff. So, they've probably got their own little closed version of the internet, but, they've still got to communicate to those drones, and it looks like they're communicating via, standard IP packets and stuff like that. Who knows what's going to go on? The scary thing is these drones are armed. There's been over 2,000 people killed in Pakistan alone by drones since Obama took control. And I just find this, what's the word? Terrifying.
Yeah.
I think is the best way of putting it.
Well, one way of looking at it is like, well, the drones are already in the hands of dangerous people doing dangerous things and killing people. How much worse can it get? Well, exactly. It's kind of my point. I mean, I don't want to see it get in the hands of terrorists or anything like that, but it's all bad, whatever way you look at it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what's worse is when you look at where it's going. That story came out last week on Wired magazine, and I was having a little back look through Wired on this, and some of the stories that have come up. First of all, from 2007, just to prove that these things are really fallible. 2007, a South African National Defence Force test with a robot-controlled anti-aircraft gun, and I'd just like to make the point that I use the word robot now widely. I mean computer-controlled. So robot doesn't mean necessarily here looks like a human walking around. It's something that's under machine control. And this was an anti-aircraft cannon. Now, most of these guns, their targeting is completely machine and automated controlled. The human's basically only there to pull the trigger. And these guns can fire on their own and reload on their own. And this thing went nuts and killed 9 people, I think, and injured 11. And it continued firing and reloading until it ran out of ammo.
So, did it determine what the threat was?
The threat? No, it went wrong. It's obviously a little crash in the code that just sent, oh yes, fire there, and it just spun round, started shooting until it ran out of ammo.
What a nightmare.
So, if these things can go wrong in testing, imagine how wrong they can go in the field. And the Americans started putting their first armed robots on patrol in Iraq back in 2007. And just to scare you even more, the follow-up to that story is that the same makers of those armed robots that went on patrol in Iraq immediately started marketing them to domestic police forces in the US.
Oh, my goodness.
So whilst I haven't heard any reports since 2007 of them actually being in use, they have been bought by police SWAT teams in Massachusetts, San Francisco, and Texas.
So kind of like a basic version of that robot that goes nuts in RoboCop right at the beginning there. That
the Ed 209.
That's it. Yeah,
I know. I keep thinking back to that scene in RoboCop over and over again, and just thinking it hasn't. It's not going to happen. It happened several years ago in South Africa, and it's going to happen more. It's quite freaky.
Well, so I mean, anything that is robotic and into the future will be connected to the World Wide Web in some kind of way, and will be able to be controlled remotely. So potentially, some malicious software could always be installed on these devices.
Always, which is why I think, in the same way that we've now got worldwide legislation against cluster bombs and landmines because of their ability to kill indiscriminately, I really think we need tough legislation against the automatic computer-controlled or remote-controlled killing machines and killbots that are being developed now, because huge amounts of money is being put into this. The Americans aren't putting money into fighter planes anymore with pilots. They're putting all their money into drones because you needn't risk a pilot. The ethics behind this are terrible. Even if they could manage a system where the control interface couldn't get hacked by terrorists, you've still got the disconnect that somebody safe in a room in America can be killing people half a world away.
But surely the inner geek in you says, well, I mean, a lot of the consumer technology that we enjoy today has come from military applications, and if we introduce legislation that it says no, you can't develop these kinds of things, then surely that will stymie research into other areas.
Well, given the massive amount of technological acceleration we're undergoing, I actually think we can afford that right now. I think we can afford the loss of whatever the military brings to civilian technology. Because let's face it, there are an awful lot of things they're spending money on where there are very few civilian uses. Although one of the scariest, do you remember Big Dog from Boston Dynamics?
The big robot that made a horrible noise that climbed mountains and skated on ice, and I remember
skated
that.
on ice, yeah. Now, I can see some really good non-military use for this. And they've just they released at the end of last year a newer version called Alpha Dog, which there's a video running now if you're joining us on the video cast of this. And Alpha Dog is about the size of a pony, can carry fairly huge loads. The test footage that Boston Dynamics have put out of this, they've got it at the moment powered by remote hydraulics and on a testing rig in a lab. But they've got this thing weighted down with huge barbells to kind of show just how much load this thing could be carrying. And it's hundreds of kilograms of load on this thing. It can run, it can jog. They've got pictures of two grown men running up to the side and trying to push this thing over and failing. And this thing comes up to about above the elbow of a 6-foot man. So almost up to the shoulder of a 6-foot tall guy. So this thing is quite big. Amazing
as it is, it gives me the creeps.
I know. Every time I see it, it's like another form of uncanny valley, where even though this thing looks nothing like an animal, it moves so much like one that it freaks me out. I just think this thing just shouldn't move like that. It shouldn't be like that.
No.
But we're going to see this more and more.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I would rather see this out in disaster areas, moving food and water to people who can't get to it, and bringing rescue supplies, not taking backpacks of ammunition for soldiers so that they can kill people. It's one of those things. I really, I hate to see this technology amazing as it is, developed primarily to oppress and kill.
Used for good, not evil. Thanks very much.
Yes, must use for good.
Must use for good. Thanks very much, Calvin. Thanks very much for that. Cheers. Calvin joining us over there in Mohawk Studios for the